Why should you use Mehron metallic paints? Let's be real. Who doesn't want to be a robot at least once in their lifetime? There's a lot of fun when it comes to robots. It's not all about AI. It's been around for many, many years, but right now it feels like it's taking over every industry, especially the arts. Robots for me have been extremely tied to my childhood. Like a lot of animated movies are centered around robots. And of course, I grew up with Disney animatronics, going to the Disney parks, or just animatronics in general, especially at Chuck E. Cheese, old school Chuck E. Cheese. I was obsessed with the animatronics there. I have very vivid memories of the animatronics being on stage, and all the other kids at birthday parties would be terrified of the animatronics, but I'd be like front and center right at the feet of the animatronics at their stage, just like staring up at them in the hopes that they'd look at me, because I knew they were real. They may not have been real, but they were real, and I was going to catch them looking at me. That never happened. And then with the rise of FNAF, of course, really brought animatronics back into pop culture. And for more niche folks, is this band niche? I think it's kind of niche. I feel like this band in particular, Steam Powered Giraffe, really popularized the use of Mehron metallic powders and mixing solution. Through them is really how I discovered this paint. I mean, honestly, I started getting into face paint because of Steam Powered Giraffe when I really got into them over 10 years ago. I don't really listen to their music much now anymore or keep up with the band anymore, but over 10 years ago when I was really deep in the band lore, I started to dabble in special effects makeup. Also, Five Nights at Freddy's, I started dabbling in special effects makeup because of that. And then Steam Powered Giraffe really got me to explore more different ways of doing makeup, especially with the metallic makeups. I owe a lot of my love to special effects makeup, this metallic makeup, because of my discovery of Steam Powered Giraffe. And of course, Mehron metallic makeup isn't just Steam Powered Giraffe centric. You can use these paints for a lot of other cosplays. Like if you're doing the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz, you can use these metallic powders and mixing solutions. If you're doing any other special effects makeup look, even if it's like a detail and you need metallic makeup for something, these paints are perfect for that. And of course, if you're doing drag, like drag queens, this is a great makeup for y'all. And even if you're doing a more high fashion, avant-garde, fashion forward kind of look, these paints are perfect for that as well. Honestly, just your imagination is the limit. So just play around and have fun with it. I think these paints are great for literally anything. So, what is this product? What is metallic Mehron powders and mixing solution? Metallic Mehron powder is an ultra-fine, loose powder pigment that is made for creating dramatic, high-shine metallic designs. This set contains the metallic powder shade of your choice. So this comes with a removable sifter, and these also come with a 1 fluid ounce mixing liquid bottle, which are these little guys. You can use these paints either with the powders on their own. Even when you use them on their own, they're still pretty pigmented, but if you mix them with the mixing solution, it creates this transfer resistant liquid metal paint, which then you can apply to your face and body. And if you use just the powder alone, it does transfer onto other things very easily. It'll rub off on your clothes, it'll rub off on anything you touch. But again, if you mix it with the mixing solution, you can touch your face and everything and it won't come off. And I think that's pretty cool. And on the Mehron website, it says that when you create this metallic liquid makeup, you can paint it on your body, your face, and it also says you can create metallic eyeliner. I've never gotten this product in my eye, but I probably wouldn't want to risk it because it's the metallic fine powder. I feel like it's not good for you to get in your eyes. I guess you should also avoid painting it on your lips, but as you can see, I often paint my bottom lip whenever I cosplay as rabbits, so use at your own discretion? I don't know. The metallic powder comes in 6 bold metal shades: gold, silver, rose gold, actually didn't know that, bronze, copper, and lavender is a color I've never used before, but I want to because it looks very, very pretty. Please sponsor me, Mehron, one day. So how do you use this product? When using this product, you pour a small amount of metallic powder onto a clean, dry surface. I usually use a paint palette that's very dirty, but with metallic paints, but I use that, and that's how I mix my paints. You can use a plate that you don't eat on. Don't eat these powders or makeup. You can use, honestly, you can use anything. You can use a cup. You can use probably a paper plate or a plastic plate or something. You need something to mix the paints on, basically. And then with the powder itself, you can apply it to your face with a brush, a sponge, or your fingers. And when you're mixing the paints together, if you want a more intense chrome effect, you pour in a little bit of the mixing solution, and then you mix that together, and then you apply it again with a brush, a sponge, or your finger, and this creates a water-resistant, vibrant liquid metal paint that dries completely. And honestly, I think it's kind of magical. I love the way it looks, and it's kind of like you're doing a science experiment when you're mixing the two together. I just filmed so much, and I just realized that my little gear on my headpiece was stuck inside, so that's gonna bother me when I'm editing, but oh well, I'm not refilming all that. I also just put on mascara because I forgot to do that, and you probably can't even tell. But if you can tell, you have really good eyes, and I salute you. Now, I felt like it would be a crime if I didn't mention this during this metallic Mehron paint focused video, that if you don't feel comfortable using the metallic powders and mixing solution, there is an alternative for you. There's this Paradise Makeup Aqua palette that's all metallic makeup. I didn't buy this myself. My father-in-law actually gifted it to me. I haven't really had the opportunity to use this palette much at all. I don't really usually do metallic makeup, but I have used it a little bit, and it looks like this. Mehron Makeup Magnetic Refillable 8-color palette, and it comes with gold, silver, purple, lightish blue, pink, darker, more royal blue, green, and like an orange-ish color. And you just activate these with water. You don't need like a mixing solution or anything. I definitely think this is a good alternative if you're not comfortable with the Mehron powders and mixing solution. And I'm sure there's other makeup brands out there with their own metallic paints, but this is just what I use because I think like a decade or more ago I watched Steam Powered Giraffe makeup time lapse. I think it was of the spine, and they were using the Mehron metallic paints and mixing solutions, so that's just what I gravitated to. Since this is a Mehron metallic makeup tutorial, I felt like it was super fitting to throw on my rabbit makeup. I haven't cosplayed as rabbit in like 5 years, so this is a throwback. But because I started using these face paints through Steam Powered Giraffe and my rabbit cosplay, I felt like I should throw on this gal and paint my face like a robot again. So for rabbit, I usually start off with a really, really fine tip makeup brush, and I go in with my black Mehron Paradise Aqua paint, and I basically just sketch everything out on my face first so I know where to lay all the colors, and then I go in with metallic makeup. So I'm gonna do all my lines first and then do the makeup. So there's everything all laid out. The great thing about this character is that her faceplate changes every time she like goes out into the wild. So there's a lot of creative freedom that you could have painting your face as this character. And every time I always paint my face as a rabbit, it changes literally every single time I do it. So yeah, now I have everything laid out. It doesn't need to be perfect because you're going to paint over these lines anyway and then go over it again at the end. So now I am going to bust out the copper, which is honestly my favorite part. So these are the metallic powders. You can use these just like as a loose powder. I always mix these with mixing solution or the mixing liquid. Makes it a lot thicker, makes it stay on longer, and it dries super dry, so you'll see that in a second. In the past, I used to use like just a normal paintbrush and paint my face with the copper, but I don't have a normal paintbrush on hand, and I don't know what happened to my old one, so I'm just gonna use a makeup brush and wash it really thoroughly when I'm done with the metallic makeup. So now I'm going to mix it and then paint my face copper. And I also use just a paint palette to mix the paints in. You can do it on a plate, you could do it in a cup, any kind of surface that you want to mix your paint in. And when mixing these, you always want to make sure you have the perfect balance of powder and mixing liquid. If you have too much liquid, it becomes too watery and runny, and it doesn't apply as thick. So just go by tiny increments and gauge it as you mix. And then I have the copper on my brush, and then I just go in and paint thy face. Then you just keep painting it. It dries pretty quickly, so you kind of want to move a little fast. Probably a little faster than I'm doing. Maybe use a bigger brush. But it's so satisfying. I love it so much. And I think I need to mix a little more paint, so let me do that, and I'm gonna keep painting my face copper. But even look, like that's pretty thick. And you can do 2 coats of this. I usually do 2, just to make sure it's not super streaky. And if you feel everything still looks a little streaky after you go on with 2-ish coats, don't stress it too much because you don't want to layer too much of the metallic paint because it can like chip off and flake off, which might be a good look if like a rundown robot is what you're going for. But if you want to minimize the chipping and peeling, stick to at most 2 layers of the metallic makeup, and then you'll be covering a lot of it with like shading and detailing, and you can add some rust too and oxidization if anything, and that'll help make everything look a little smoother. So once I have the copper in, I go in with my black Mehron Paradise Aqua Paint, and then I just fill up all the black areas, and then I'll go in with my silver metallic powder. And if you want to know more about the Mehron Paradise Aqua Paints that I use, that are my favorite paints in the world, then you can check out my last makeup, face paint, body paint tutorial, and that has more details on how I apply this paint. I'm just using those same techniques with the black areas of my face. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna use my eyeliner around my eyes, make it really black and thick. I'm not going to paint my ears just for the sake of this tutorial, but usually I'd also paint my ears black and then do the outlines of my ears in silver. But for the tutorial today, I'm not going to because I'm lazy. But once you're satisfied with your black paint, then you can go in with your setting powder of choice. I'm using Mehron Color Set powder, and then I'm just gonna powder all the black paint areas. And I really cannot stress the importance of setting your makeup enough, because it really just helps with the longevity of your face paint looks. So yeah, and also I feel like it makes everything look matter and smoother, so yeah, big fan. But once I set it and paint the areas that I want to paint black, then I go in with my Mehron silver metallic powder, mix it with the mixing liquid to the consistency that I like, and then I go in with my makeup to all the areas that I think should be silver. Oh, also before I forget, do not breathe in this powder. It is not good for you. And also, do not breathe in your setting powder. It is not good for you. So I hold my breath, shake off any excess that you need to from your brush. But yeah, just be careful. And just use the paint sparingly. Pour in a tiny bit of powder and then a tiny bit of mixing solution, because you will be surprised at how little powder and mixing liquid that you need to paint your face. A little goes a long way with these paints, which is why I really love them, because, you know, they last a long time, which is really useful when you're a cosplayer like me who loves painting their face. Now, once I have all the silver laid out how I want it to be, then I go in with my Snazaroo teal paint, and then I add little detailing and doing the rest of the painting, and then I'll go in for shading. And again, you can do this with any character face paint. When you're using the metallic paints, you can mix the metallic paints on, well, not mix them, but you can paint parts of your face with the metallic paints, then paint other parts of your paints, then paint other parts of your face with other paints. Say that 10 times fast. I don't know if this happens for anyone else, but green and teal paint stains my skin. So just be careful when you're using green and teal face paints. I guess it depends on the brand of face paint you use. Whenever I use Snazaroo and Mehron, my skin gets tinted green. So there's that. Now, I do the teal makeup because copper oxidizes, so that's something that the real rabbit did for her makeup looks, and I think still does occasionally. I don't know, I don't keep up with the power draft anymore, but I like doing the oxidizing on the copper, and I just go in with a brush and then do like a stipple motion on corners of the copper paint just to add some of that oxidization look. Woo! Then once I add the oxidization, I go in with white Mehron Paradise Aqua, and I'm using red today. I don't always use it, sometimes I do, to just add little more extra colors and details into the face paint. Now I go in, usually I go in with like a black eyeshadow, but I don't know where mine is and I don't want to dig for it. But yeah, I go in with a black eyeshadow or my black Paradise? My black Mehron Paradise Aqua Paint, and I shade areas that need to be shaded, and then I go in with my fine tip brush and then outline everything again. And also, usually I block out my eyebrows for this, which you can use a glue stick of your choice to just glue your hair one direction, glue the other direction, a few different coats of that. I also go in with spirit gum on top of that, and then I paint over my eyebrows, but I didn't today because I'm lazy. The makeup in the light, so pretty. I always feel really pretty as Rabbit. Usually I have like eyelashes, but I ran out of eyelash glue, and I have magnetic eyeliner and eyelashes, but I lost one of the eyelashes and I don't know where it went, so I gotta buy more. But what I was going to say is that at the end of when I finish applying the makeup, I always seal it with a final seal spray. Ben 9 matte makeup sealer is my favorite. I do like 5 spritzes or 8 of them, I don't even know, but I do a lot. But always make sure your eyes are closed completely while it's drying, because this makeup sealer is kind of minty and it burns if you open your eyes, so don't. But always seal your makeup at the end if you want it to last the whole convention day. So that is my how to use and what is the Mehron metallic powder and mixing solution tutorial time-lapse video. If you like this video, consider giving this video, a thumbs up, a like, leave a comment. Do you know what Steam Powered Giraffe is? Did I just introduce you to a new band? And do you want to see more tutorial videos like this, or what other kind of videos do you want to see from me? If you want to keep up with what I do, I try to post at least one video a month, but that's probably going to become multiple videos a month very, very soon. And I post very often on YouTube Shorts, so you can check those out. I'm also very active on other social media platforms, so you can check all of those out in the description below. Consider checking out my other videos, time-lapse videos, tutorials. I'm going to do more research deep dives in the future, and possibly some convention vlogs. And consider subscribing to my channel if you like this content. If you like seeing my cosplays and makeup looks, I really do appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye!